That day, as David watched Uncle Henry approach, his face twisted with anger and longing. A chill ran down his spine. The words the man would utter would change their lives forever. "If you don't pay me, I'll take Sam away." Before we get into this story, you might want to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next exciting events. But now, enjoy. David had never imagined that his life, once so ordinary and colorless, could change so radically. At 45, he had resigned himself to a monotonous life, devoid of emotion and far from the dreams he had nurtured as a child. Raised in a strict family, he had learned early that dreams were a luxury and that life required sacrifices and concrete decisions. So, he had left aside his love for nature, for the flower gardens that had brightened his childhood, to pursue a career in the corporate world. He had become a successful businessman, but the price he had paid for that success had been high. Days spent in grey offices, far from any form of beauty and human warmth, and lonely evenings in an empty house. But fate had a surprise in store for him. One morning, like any other, while he was getting ready for another boring business meeting, met Sophia. She wasn't like the other people he hung out with for work. Her floral blazer and red shoes stood out among the grey, formal suits. Her energy was contagious, and she immediately caught David's attention. Their business meeting quickly turned into a meeting that would mark the beginning of a new phase in his life. Sophia was a woman full of life, capable of reawakening in him that passion and warmth that he thought he had lost forever. Over time, their relationship deepened. David and Sophia discovered that they shared not only a strong mutual attraction, but also similar dreams and desires. Sophia, like David, had left her dreams behind to pursue a stable career, but her love of coffee remained a constant in her life. Together, they decided to unite their dreams. They would open a cafe in a garden, a green refuge in the heart of the city of Lucca. It was an ambitious project, but both were ready to do what was necessary to make it happen. The search for the perfect location for their coffee shop led them to an old abandoned house with a large lot around it. It was the perfect spot, but it required a tremendous amount of work. Despite the difficulties, David finally felt alive, immersed in the project of transforming the place into a corner of paradise. Every day, he spent hours clearing the house and working in the garden, planting flowers and plants that would make the place a haven of peace. It was during one of these days of work that David met Sam, a young boy of 15, who suddenly appeared in the garden, watching curiously as David worked. When Sam asked what he was doing, David patiently explained his plan to transform the land into a lush garden. Sam, fascinated, asked if he could help. David happily agreed, and so began a daily ritual. Every day, Sam showed up to work with David in the garden, helping to pull weeds, plant flowers, and tend to the plants. As the days passed, the bond between David and Sam grew stronger. There was something about that boy that deeply touched David's heart. Sophia also noticed the special bond that was developing between the two. Sam was an intelligent, curious, but also quiet and introverted child. He didn't talk much about his personal life, and David respected his silence, simply enjoying his company. Still, concern for Sam's well-being began to grow. David asked the boy about his family several times, but Sam always responded vaguely, assuring them that there was nothing to worry about. One day, as Sophia watched the two of them sitting on the steps of the house, she approached Sam and asked if she could speak to his mother and invite him to dinner. Sam's response was shocking. "I don't have a mother anymore," he said, his voice shaking. She died many years ago. I lived with my uncle, but he abandoned me. Since then, I've lived here, in an abandoned house." The revelation shook David and Sophia to their core. They had never imagined that Sam was living in such difficult conditions, and the thought that such a young child was alone in the world struck them to the heart. Without hesitation, Sophia took Sam by the hand and said, "Come with us. You won't have to live there anymore. We'll help you." From that day on, David and Sophia cared for Sam as if he were their own son. They bought him new clothes, enrolled him in school, and prepared a room for him in their house. The boy began to live with them, and every day after school he joined David in the garden, continuing to work together on the cafeteria project. Sam seemed to be reborn, like a plant that, after a long winter, finally blooms. Their life seemed to have found a new balance, but fate had one last test in store for them. One day, while David and Sam were busy working in the garden, a man suddenly appeared. His face was hard, and his voice was harsh and authoritative. "Hey, Sam, you seem to be living a good life, huh, boy?" he said, abruptly interrupting their work. Sam froze. David knew immediately that something was wrong. "Uncle Henry," Sam muttered, his voice shaking. David stood up and approached the man. "Good afternoon. My name is David. Sam has been with us and is well cared for," he said, trying to remain calm. But the man didn't seem interested in explanations. "I came for him," Henry said, his voice heavy with menace. "If you don't pay me, I'll take the boy away." Sam hid behind David, clearly terrified of the man. David felt his heart sink. He wouldn't let Sam go back to his old life, not after everything they'd been through together. "I'll be back in a week to get the money," Henry added, before leaving. If you like the story, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting stories. Thank you so much. David and Sophia knew they couldn't give in to blackmail. That night, they decided to adopt Sam. The next day, they immediately contacted social services and a lawyer, determined to protect the boy. During the hearing, the judge listened to both sides, but finally asked to hear Sam's opinion. With a trembling voice, Sam told his story. Speaking of his time with Uncle Henry, he described the loneliness and pain he had felt. But when he spoke of David and Sophia, his eyes lit up. "When I met them, my life changed. They gave me a home, they gave me love. My heart was like that abandoned house, sad and empty, but they filled it with color and joy. Please let me stay with them." Sam's words were decisive. The judge ruled that Sam could stay with David and Sophia. And so, that day, Sam finally found a family who loved and protected him. The cafe in the garden opened shortly after, a dream finally coming true.